and do different classes, so it wouldn't work in a way, would it? I don't think.
Well, I mean, yeah, it would and it wouldn't. So I think having ummed and ahed about it, I'm started recording now. I'm going to, that's good. I thought this is my new system, putting a reminder on my laptop to tell me to record it. And now. But yeah, having ummed and ahed, I just thought actually it's probably helpful to send out an email the day before, even though Sally, like some reason that email doesn't arrive.
I know, so, weird. Yeah. Anyway,
but maybe what I should do, Marie, is have the same meeting ID, but just send out the reminder, and then if there is a problem that you don't get the
yeah, that's true.
Still be joined. So maybe I'll do that. Hi, Sharon, by the way.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mel. Hello. So we're going to make a start. We're going to start lying down. I might just show you a couple of things. It's all quite familiar stuff, but just in case you're feeling you need a reminder, which you might do. So we're going to very simply we will do a bit of bridge pose. We will do a bit of the pressing one foot, and we'll also do a bit of this one where we're rocking our hands side to side. And we'll also do a bit of this one where we're crossing the elbows and we're rocking everything. And we will then come to our side, onto our side as well. But I think that's probably all I need to show you because they are really familiar things. Have we still got Kate? Yes, we've got you there. So I think most of those things we did last week. Hello. So settle down onto your backs and just arrive onto your backs. Nice to see Otter wagging her tail there. So someone else is joining us. I'm hoping that might be Siobhan. So yeah, settle down onto your backs and have your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. And maybe bring your hands to rest on the front of your body. And just let yourself settle there. So your hands are resting somewhere on the front of your body. You can just start to become aware of how your body moves in response to your breathing. So the breath flowing in, the breath leaving you. And what you could also do at this point is just start to let your head roll a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. Keeping it very easy, keeping it very relaxed.
Hello.
Is that someone's noisy cat?
That's my son, cat.
Okay, all right.
He decided to join me doing yoga. He's much better.
Oh, right, okay. So a couple more times, letting your head roll to the right and to the left. And then making sure your knees are bent, your feet are standing on the floor, taking a moment to feel the contact of the back of your pelvis on the floor, the contact of your footprints on the floor. What you're going to do then is start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. That's very nice. I can see lots of nice knees moving from side to side. So just a very easy movement of rocking the knees from side to side. And using this movement to help you feel your body. How does your body feel right now, this morning, Wednesday morning? How does it feel? How does it feel into your hip joints? How does it feel of your pelvis? Maybe into your lower back, the low ribs. Just once, twice more, noticing how the weight shifts to the right and to the left side of your pelvis. then settle in the center. And come to doing a little bit of tilting your pelvis up and down on the floor. So a little movement. You're not going into bridge pose yet. You're rocking your pelvis towards your face and feel that your lower back flattens out a bit. And you're tilting your pelvis away from your head and feel that your lower back can arch a little bit away from the ground. And just these movements to see how your lower back feels. And then whenever you're ready, you are going to start to move into quite an easy bridge pose. So make sure your feet are reasonably close in towards your pelvis. Not really close in, but also not too far. That's it, Kate. I think I'll possibly having the feet in a little bit. Yeah. And maybe 3 times you're going to roll up and down into bridge pose. So sinking into your footprints, letting your pelvis come away, picking some of your spine up off the floor, and then placing your spine back down onto the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. And keep it really easy at this point. So what we're really thinking about is trying to mobilize our spine, releasing sort of tight places, but without any feeling of force. So rolling back down again. And just really all the time, the most important thing is this: how do we feel? What do we feel in our bodies? As our spine picks up away from the floor, we might encounter some tightness in the upper back. And that might be the place at which we stop and then we roll back down again. Now, the next time your pelvis comes back onto the floor, just leave it there and let the weight of the pelvis settle down. And then, like we did last week, we're going to do the one where we keep the right knee bent, the right foot standing on the floor, and you lengthen your left leg out on the ground. So it's the same movement, but you're going to be pressing into your right foot, letting the right side of your pelvis lift, and your pelvis is going to tilt towards the left. So the left leg and the left side of the pelvis stay heavy on the floor. The right side of the pelvis lifts as you press into the right foot. Yeah, that's it, Kate. I think we did this last week, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's that feeling of, and it could be that as you exhale, you're pressing into the foot. Mel, make sure your knee's traveling forwards over your footprint rather than over to the left. So there are different versions we can do of this, but we're thinking about this one. It's just really about pressing into the right foot. The right knee travels forwards over the right footprint. We feel the right side of the pelvis lift. And we notice what we feel in the ribs through the right side of the body. Sort of, it's opening us up into those ribs a little bit. So it can be quite helpful to take your left hand across your body and feel what's happening in the ribs in the right side. And you could even be encouraging the ribs to come away from the floor a little bit, to come along with the pelvis with that left hand, if you like. So perhaps just do this a couple more times on this side. And before we move on to the second side, so you can do it again if you want to, before we move on to the side, you could lengthen both legs out on the floor for a moment, or bend both knees. I just need to grab the tissue. So yes, let both legs be long or let both knees bend, and then organise yourself so you've got your left knee bent, your left foot standing on the floor. You're lengthening your right leg out. Oh yeah, that's quite good, Kate. I can see you better now. So excellent. So yeah, left knee bent, left foot standing on the floor, right leg long. And then exactly the same thing. How does it feel to start pressing into the left foot, letting the pelvis lift on the left side? Yeah, that's great. I can see you really well now, Kate. Good. And yes, exactly. If you want to, like we did on the other side, take your right arm across your body, use your right hand to encourage the ribs on the left side of the body to come along with the movement. You can do. So what we're looking for is this feeling that the active bit, where we're actually doing something active, is the pressing into the foot, but how that affects our body much higher up. So the pressing in the foot not only lifts the pelvis, it also starts to move these ribs through the left side of the body. And you can do that a couple more times in your own time. Very nice. And it might be that you coordinate the pressing with exhaling. That can be helpful. So maybe make this the last time you do that pressing movement. And then you're going to settle either with both knees bent or both legs long, whichever is most comfortable. And let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And we're going to focus in now a little bit more on the upper back. So you're going to bring your arms up and bring your arms into this, make a triangle with your arms. So you're touching your hands over your chest. Your hands are in prayer pose over your chest in a big triangle. Good. You want to have your elbows straight and your hands stay stuck together. And then you're going to start to rock this triangle you've made from side to side. So you start to rock across your upper back. So taking the arms to the right and to the left, but without bending your elbows, Kate. So I've got a very good view of you now. So,
I've got to do everything right. I can't.
Exactly, yes, exactly. So you let your head, you let your arms and your head move to the right and to the left. But it's not about going as far as you can. It's about keeping the elbows straight, keeping the hands stuck together. Hi, Siobhan.
Hi.
Hi, you've had a few
connected via phone and 4G and.
I was about to say, have you had a few technical challenges this morning? So we're on
Very
our back.
much so.
We're lying down. Yeah, we're lying down on our backs. I think it sounds like you probably need to do that. And yeah, everyone who's there tilting their hands from side to side, just let your arms come to rest for a moment because we're going to repeat that. So bring the arms down to rest by your sides or on your belly. So this movement is very much about releasing the sort of vertebrae, particularly around the upper back and the ribs there. So we're going to repeat the movement in a moment once your arms have rested. So bringing your arms back up into that position. So your elbows are straight, your hands are planted together, stuck together. And come back to doing exactly the same thing to start with. So rocking your arms and your head to the right and to the left. And then if you like, you could see what's it like to take the head and the arms in opposite directions. And you're probably going to have to make it a smaller movement. That's it. Particularly if you're going to keep your elbow straight. Yeah, you may make a smaller movement. Very nice. Smaller movement, but you might feel quite a lot happening. And then you can come back to taking head and arms in the same direction. Yeah, so come back to everything going the same way, head and the arms. And then you're going to let that go. And just bring your arms back to rest by your sides. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then in your own time, come back to bridge pose. So come back to planting both feet on the floor. So if your legs are long, come back to bending both knees, planting both feet on the floor, and starting to sink into your footprints, rolling up and down through the spine. So Siobhan, we were doing a bit, you missed a bit of bridge pose earlier and a bit of the sort of one-legged variation. So it's good you're catching up to bridge pose. But obviously for you, it may still be feeling a bit tight. It's probably good to have your arms resting on the floor now when you're doing bridge pose. Have your feet again reasonably close into your bottom. Kate, it might be that you want your feet to look into your bottom. It's hard, yeah, that looks, yeah. So it's the feeling that as we exhale, we can just press down into our heels easily and we send the knees forwards over the feet. Yeah, that looks nice. Good. Very nice. Marie, you could possibly have your feet a little bit wider apart. So I've got a good view of you here. Just see how that feels. So maybe one more bridge pose. Rolling up and down. Very nice. Yeah, that looks very nice and planted, Sharon. Got some very beautiful light in some of your rooms today. And then see what you feel when you bring your pelvis back to the floor after this most recent bridge pose. What do you want to do? Do you want to lengthen your legs out again? Do you want to fold your knees in towards you? Yeah, what does your body feel that it needs for a moment? And do that. So it's really important that we try and follow these cues from our body of what we feel our body needs. If you folded your knees into your chest, it might be quite nice to then take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out. I always feel like that one. Love that one, very nice. And your arms, beautiful. Oh, let's see. Otter joining in. Otter is Mel's dog, by the way.
Okay.
So come back down now. Bring your feet back onto the floor. And now give yourself a hug with your arms over your chest. So you're crossing your arms over your chest. So now what I'd like you to do is let the elbows, the knees and the head all rock in the same direction. So you could tilt the knees, the elbows, the head, all over to the right. That's it. And then over to the left.
This is with your body as well.
Yeah, with your feet on the floor. But yeah, let everything go to the right and to the left. Let the knees go as well, Mel. That's it. So it's much more the feeling now that you're rolling from side to side across the back of your body. Very nice. And it's up to you how far you go. And you're thinking about, so what we're thinking about here is just this feeling of maybe sort of massaging across the back of our body. And then from here, you're going to let yourself roll all the way over onto one side and settle yourself on your side. So you're going to lie with your knees bent. I will demonstrate. You lie with your knees bent on your side. And if comfortable, just put one arm under your head. Or if that's not comfortable, do a slight cushion under your head. So just, yeah, settle onto your side in a way, you know, that you're quite comfortable and settled here. And you're going to have a few breaths. And we'll also do a little movement here as well. Just settle yourself on your sides. That's nice. So imagine if you were going to have a little sleep. And then the one thing I'd like you to do here in terms of movement is that very little movement where we see how it feels to lift the low ribs, the bottom ribs away from the floor. So what's it like to lift your bottom ribs off the floor and place them back down again? And I will show you from the back, just in case. I think you don't necessarily need to see this at all, but yeah, it looks better from the back. So the bottom ribs lift off the floor and then come back down again, which means we're doing a little bit of a side bending movement on our side. Very nice. Yeah, lovely. So I find this movement is incredibly helpful for my lower back if it's feeling tight. So from here, you're going to roll back onto your back. come back to giving yourself a hug and a bit more of this rocking from side to side on your back. And then we will roll all the way over onto the other side.
Are we changing arms, Cara?
You could change arms, yes, to make yourself balanced. It doesn't matter too much, but yeah. Good thinking, Marie. Very nice. So in your own time, roll all the way over onto the other side. So I get to have this lovely view of some people's backs. Settle yourself on your other side, as comfortable as possible. Just have a few breaths before you do anything. So resting on your side, hand, an arm under your head maybe, knees bent, so you can just, yeah, you can just settle there. You're right there, Mel, that's it, just settling down. A few breaths on your side, very nice. And then you can have a little experiment with that, lifting your bottom ribs away from the floor and then placing them back down again. Lovely. Very nice. See, so a couple more times, lift the bottom ribs off the floor, that's it. And it might be to lift those ribs off the floor, you have to, yeah, something has to adjust in the top side of your body. That's fine. Good. Okay, and then from here, we're going to come on to hands and knees. And we're going to start off with a little bit of cat, and then I've got a couple of some sequences for us to do on hands and knees. So coming on to hands and knees when you're ready. Just settling yourself down. So you've got your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. So you feel supported through the bones of your arms. And you might, after lying down, I obviously do a little bit of time to gather myself. You might need a little bit of time just to arrive on hands and knees. So sometimes a little bit of circling of your shoulders over your hands are good for this, just this feeling of settling, of arriving here in this new position, this new relationship to gravity. And then when you're ready, you can start to see, how does it feel to round your back to the ceiling? How does it feel to dip your spine down to the floor? Keeping it easy, keeping it comfortable. We're going to be thinking quite a lot today about these movements where we're either lengthening out through the back of the body, like when we round our back to the ceiling, or we're opening out through the front of the body, like when we dip our spine down to the floor. So that, I suppose, is perhaps our main focus for today. And then whenever you want to, from rounding your back to the ceiling, you can rock your hips back over your heels and come into child pose and just settle in child pose for a couple of breaths. Again, with that intention of arriving in child pose, in this organisation. Good. Seeing how it feels. If child pose doesn't feel desperately comfortable, yes, a bit of rocking your pelvis side to side is nice, Mel. You can always be on your forearms, rocking forwards and back. And then from child pose, come back onto hands and knees. And this time tuck your toes under. They may have been tucked under anyway, but what I'd like you to do is just a little bit of simple rocking forwards and back. So with your toes tucked under, hands planted on the floor, how does it feel to rock your weight forwards and back? So not so much forwards, more just the backwards movement, which starts to really ask your toes to bend. And eventually, from rocking back, you're going to rock yourself all the way up into dog pose. So rock your hips back over your heels, and then picking your knees up off the ground and lengthening your legs into dog pose. And maybe I think a bit of bending one knee, so it's a bit like you're walking on the spot. Resting into your hands. Lovely. And we're going to do a couple of dog poses in that way. Very nice. So whenever you come back down from dog, because we'll repeat that again, you might want to sit back into kneeling, give your hands a bit of a shake out. And then again, revisit this rocking forwards and back movement. So sometimes, and we will be doing this later on, we'll go further forwards. So we're taking ourselves into face up dog. We will do that shortly. But at the moment, we're just thinking about rocking from our shoulders being over our hands to taking the hips back over the heels. So really thinking about the sort of folding of the knees, of the ankles, of the toes. And then whenever you're ready again, taking this up into dog pose, rocking back, then picking the knees up, starting to lengthen the legs out, resting through the arms, keeping the pelvis back. A few breaths there. Lovely. Very nice. Dog pose is great. Actually, I can see you all very well today, which is lovely. And the light makes it look like you're in some beautiful coffee table yoga book. So. Good. So from that dog pose, come back down. Maybe just sit in kneeling or sit comfortably and give your hands a shake out. And I'm going to show you the first little bit of sequence we're going to do. And I'll talk you through this, but I'll just show you. So, which will be familiar to some of you. So from hands and knees, toes tucked under, we're going to round our back. So we're basically adding in the rocking back into cat. So round our back, rock our hips back over our heels, and then come forwards, dipping our spine down. And just repeating this, so rounding, rocking back, dipping the spine. You can see I'm bending my elbows a bit at this point, but you don't have to bend them a huge amount. So you're not trying to dip all the way down to the floor. You could have played around with that if you like. So come onto hands and knees, toes tucked under. I do tend to coordinate my movement with my breathing a bit here, which you can or you don't have to do. I would probably here let a breath come in, and then as I exhale, round my back to the ceiling, maybe breathe in again, rounded, and then staying rounded, rock my hips back over my heels as I exhale. Let a breath come in, and then dip my spine down to come forwards on an out. And round to the ceiling, rounded, rocking back over heels. Maybe here, let a breath come in. Helpful at this point, I think, to travel forwards, dipping your spine as you breathe out. But just, yeah, see what feels most natural. So the rounding up, staying rounded to rock back, and then dipping the spine down to travel forwards. So I'm just going to have a look at you doing this. So it's interesting. This is a little sequence I used to teach ever so much. That's nice. Good. Good. Lovely. Good. That's nice. Sharon, I wonder whether you could have a bit more distance between your hands and knees, I think. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Because I think sometimes if the distance between the hands and knees is too little, then you feel a bit constrained.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Thank you.
Very nice. Maybe the next time you round your back to the ceiling, untuck your toes and rock your hips all the way back into child pose, and just have a couple of breaths there. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to develop this sequence. Have a couple of breaths in child and then just sit comfortably. So, and I think we'll break this down into a couple of stages. So maybe just sit and watch this first bit, and then we'll do it together, and then we'll add the next bit in. So we're going to do exactly what we've done: rounding, rocking back, dipping down, and then we're going to round, rock back, and then this time we slide the hands forwards a bit more, so the forehead can come to the ground. And then we will round our back to travel forwards into face up dog. And from face up dog, we'll fold back into child pose. So let's do this little bit, and then we're going to add something else to it as well. But let's do this bit first. So start on hands and knees, just as you were. So the first part is just what you were doing. Hands and knees tucked, toes tucked under. Let a breath come in. Exhale, rounding your back to the ceiling. Maybe breathing in there. Exhale, rocking your hips back over your heels. Let a breath come in. Dip your spine down to travel forwards, back to shoulders over your hands. Then again, round your back to the ceiling. Rock your hips back over your heels. Now this time you're going to slide your hands further forwards on the floor, maybe so that your forehead comes down. Let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, you're going to travel forwards into face-up dog, rounding your back. All the way into your face-up dog, untucking your toes, that's it, letting the pelvis hang. And then keep your feet flat on the floor, rock your hips back over your heels into child pose. Good. And then come back onto hands and knees. Let's do that one more time, and then I might watch you do it one more time. So hands and knees, toes tucked under, rounding your back to the ceiling, rocking your hips back over your heels, maybe let a breath come in. As you exhale, dip your spine down, come back to your starting point. Again, rounding your back to the ceiling, rocking your hips back over your heels. At this point, slide your hands further forwards, maybe the forehead touches the floor. Let the breath come in, and then traveling forwards into face-up dog, rounding your back. Untucking your toes, letting your pelvis hang in face-up dog. And then folding back into child pose. So I'm going to talk you through once more, but I'll look at you. You can do it in your own time if you prefer. So come on to hands and knees as your starting point. Hands and knees, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rounding your back to the ceiling, rocking your hips back over your heels. And then let a breath come in, come forwards, dipping your spine down, back to your starting point. Good. And then round your back to the ceiling, rock your hips back over your heels again. And then this time slide your hands further forwards on the floor. Keep your elbows off the floor at this point. Yeah, rather than let the elbows rest down, keep the elbows off the floor. You can touch your forehead down. And then rounding your back to travel forwards, very nice, into face-up dog. Keep watching your pelvis. All the way into face-up dog, untuck your toes. Lovely. And then fold your hips back over your heels into child pose. Now this time, let's try the next little bit. So from child pose, you're going to start to slide your hands in towards you. So you come up into kneeling. Now, it might be at this point that you need to have a book or a block under each hand, because what you're going to be doing is supporting yourself through your fingertips, pressing down lots of your feet and trying to see if you can lift your pelvis off your heels. So it's sort of a mini camel pose, yeah? So it might be, I'll show you that so very much depends on the length of your body in relationship to your arms. So it might be that
Are your knees together, Cara, or apart?
yeah, they're sort of hip width apart. So you don't want them to be doing this, but they don't need to be clamped together. So it's from the front. It's like that sort of movement. Yeah, so I'd say hip width apart. So again, and if you don't like being on your fingertips, again, you could be on the flat of your hands, you could be on your knuckles. And if having a book under each hand is helpful. Do that lovely little mini camel. Yes, delightful. And then from there, we come into dog pose. So you come forwards, bring your hands onto the floor, tuck your toes under, exhale, take your hips up and back into dog pose and have a bit of lengthen out. And then this time we'll do that whole sequence together. So maybe just come back onto hands and knees after your dog pose. Into kneeling, give your hands a little shake out. And then I'll talk you through the whole sequence, starting on hands and knees, finishing with dog pose, okay? So hands and knees, toes tucked under. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, round your back to the ceiling. rock your hips back over your heels. Let a breath come in. And as you exhale, let the spine dip down. You travel back to your starting point. Breathe in. As you exhale, you can round your back to the ceiling. You can rock your hips back over your heels. So at this point, we then walk the hands further forwards. We keep the elbows off the ground, but the forehead could touch the ground. Let a breath come in. And then travel forwards into your face-up dog, rounding your back. Then letting the pelvis go, feeling really supported through your arms, untuck your toes. And then from face-up dog, folding back into child pose. Just let yourself settle in child. A couple of breaths, and then from child pose, we're coming into that really lovely little mini camel. So you're coming into kneeling. I'd like to have a look at you this time, see what we're doing. So fingertips, knuckles, if you prefer. It's that feeling, can we lift the pelvis away from the heels? That's it. So it's going to be a big stretch through the quads. Very nice. Well done, everyone. Yeah, it's quite helpful to repeat that a few times. And then come forwards, plant your hands on the ground, tuck your toes under, exhale, coming into dog pose. And so feel in dog pose, it's the back of our body that is lengthening out. So in this, and you can bend one knee at a time, bend the other. So in this little sequence, it's very much that we're moving between. You can come down into kneeling for a moment, shake your hands out. So in this little sequence, we're moving between these movements where the front and the back of the body are opening or shortening. Let's do it again. So hands and knees, toes tucked under. Let a breath come in as you exhale, round your back to the ceiling. Stay rounded, exhale, rock your hips back over your heels. Breath comes in, you can exhale, dip your spine as you come back to your starting position. And then again, rounding your back, exhaling, rocking your hips back over your heels. This time the hands walk a bit further forwards on the floor, maybe the forehead touches the floor. Let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, start to round your back, travel forwards into face-up dog. Have a really nice inhalation in face-up dog, so you feel wide in the front of your chest. And exhale, fold back into child pose. Have a couple of breaths in child pose. Wiggle your pelvis if you like. And then from child pose, coming up into kneeling. Experimenting with this one where we're coming back onto our fingertips, onto our knuckles, onto a block or a book either side if you need to, the pelvis lift. So what we're really looking for is this stretch through our quads, with the fronts of our thighs. So if, like Sally, you're going running every day, then it's a really good one to do. And then we come on into dog pose. Exhaling into dog pose. And this time we're going to fold down into child pose after dog pose. And just have a few quiet breaths. So if you want to stay in dog pose a little bit longer, you can do this time. And then I have another little sequence we're going to do in a moment. Lovely dog poses, everyone. So yes, dog pose, or if you prefer to sit in kneeling for a few quiet breaths, that's absolutely fine. So, wherever you like to be. So just that sort of moment of quiet after the movement, we come to settle, we come to feel our bodies, to feel our breath. And we are going to be for this next little sequence, starting in kneeling. And I think all of you, most of you Wednesday morning people are quite happy in kneeling. Helen, you might want to put something under the tops of your feet. Yeah, I know we usually have a rolled up mat. So Helen can't speak to me, but she can hear me. So if in kneeling you need something to make it more comfortable, like a cushion under the tops of your feet. do so. Now, we'll see when we get there, but you may also need some other props for this. I want you to be able to settle in kneeling, shoulders over your hips. Maybe do a little bit of, yeah, these ones where we're rolling our pelvis, really just because I want you to find, yeah, so we could kneeling, we could be here, couldn't we? We could be sticking our front ribs out, shortening our back. We could be here, slouching a bit.
Cara,
Yes.
is your bottom on the floor?
No, my bottom is on my heels.
On your heels?
We will come shortly to the bottom being on the floor. You'll be thrilled to hear. At the moment, your bottom is on your heels or on a cushion. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, bottom on the heels. Now, can you just settle in the middle where your spine is just in neutral? And can we turn? So can we turn to the right and to the left? So we're just very much trying to leave the pelvis heavy, and these movements of the rib cage and the shoulders. It's quite easy to leave the pelvis heavy when we're kneeling. So I always find this a really good twist for my rib cage, but obviously it depends how easy or difficult kneeling is. Now, the one more thing I want you to try in kneeling, if you can bear to be here a little bit longer, is what would it be like to, again, you're still sitting on your heels, what would it be like to try and go back a little bit? So if you see that I'm letting my pelvis tuck under, I'm trying to keep my ribs quite quiet here. So I'm not going back that far. It's quite a big stretch through the quads. It might also be a stretch through the knees, so don't push it. Lengthen the front of the body, yeah, but quiet. So look down at your belly, just so here stays quiet. You don't want to be sticking out here, like there. Okay, let's from there come on to hands and knees and lengthen each leg out behind us. So this is so good for the knees, particularly if your knees find kneeling a bit of a challenge. So lengthen each leg out behind you, really let the back of the knee open. And then we're going to sneak in a little plank pose. So make sure your hands are under your shoulders. Lengthen one leg back and then add the second leg in. Try and be in your long, straight plank pose. Your pelvis is neither sticking up, nor is it being down to the ground. And then when we come back down, like one of you was saying, I wasn't quite sure who it was, we are this time going to sit down in between our heels. So you may need to sit on a cushion or a book or several things, yeah? So if you so you're sitting now down in between your heels, Virasana. So this is the first time I've taught this on Zoom, and I was, it's with you Wednesday people, you know what you're doing. I'm just going to show you here. So the knees, a bit, Marie, as you're asking earlier, the knees are hip width apart. They don't need to be clamped together, but you don't want them to start to do this. If the knees are feeling painful, you need to sit on another cushion or another block. Okay. You can have a little bit of a wiggle here. And then the same thing we did when we were in kneeling, this feeling of, can we lean back a little bit, but tuck the pelvis under? So again, very much we're trying to stay, I think I sometimes use this image, like a saggy deck chair through the front of our body. Yeah, if you're looking down, your ribs are falling away. It's not that you're doing this and arching your back. Very much, so again, Sally, be very good for your running. It's very much about the length through the front of your thighs. And then from here, we'll contrast this with dog pose, which always feels so nice when we come out of that one and we move everything the opposite way in dog. So you feel the backs of the ankles lengthen, you feel the back of the legs lengthen. And I'm going to come back down from dog into kneeling. We're going to do that little sequence only one more time. So if you thought that was absolutely horrible and you hated everything, we're not going to do it more, we're just going to do it one more time. So kneeling is your first. So kneeling, so remember this to start with, you're sitting on your heels, not between them. And we're doing a little twist. Yeah, so sit on your heels, do your little twist, turning to the right, turning to the left a couple of times. Try to feel that your spine stays in neutral, so that your ribs are quiet, letting your shoulders drop. Really good for bringing that movement into the rib cage, this one. And then we can try that lovely one where we're trying to, I'm just going to move forwards a little bit, we're trying to go back a little bit, letting the pelvis tuck under. So it becomes about this big stretch through the fronts of the thighs, again trying to keep quiet through the front of the body so we're not arching there. And then from there we can come on to hands and knees. So this is maybe the nicest thing, on hands and knees, lengthening each leg out behind us. Oh, and then of course plank pose, that's always a nice thing, isn't it? So when you've lengthened each leg out and you've really enjoyed that feeling of the back of the leg opening, stretching the calf, oh, feels so nice. Pay a little bit of attention to where your hands are, hands under your shoulders, wrists under your shoulders, and then taking one leg and the other leg back into plank pose. And in this plank pose, really stretch your heels away from you, so the heels are very active. Toes are really, feel that contact of the toes on the floor. Good, very nice. And then when you come back down, this time, last time, it is that sitting down in between your heels. So you might need to be sitting on a block, a book, a cushion, a couple of blocks. At this point, you need to feel, before you do anything, that you can have a little bit of a wiggle, that your bird's settling into its nest. And then you can try what is it like to let the pelvis, so we're trying to get the pelvis to tuck under. And what we bump up against is this tightness through the quads. And yeah, we don't stay here too long. So from here, we're going to be going into dog pose. And from this dog pose, we're going to be going up into standing. So we'll go from dog pose into a forward bend, up into standing. So that's it. No more Virasana for today. So hands and knees, big hands, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back. And then up. And enjoying your dog pose. Have a few breaths enjoying dog pose. And then walking your hands into your feet and have a few breaths enjoying your forward bend. And let a breath come in. Whenever you're ready, exhaling, rolling up into standing.
Kara, I might have a little rest, I think.
Yeah, it's okay, Kate. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
I don't know how much longer we've got to go. Perhaps I can come back in.
Yeah, you could come back in. We're going to do some things in standing, and then we're going to do a bit of sitting and breathing. So have a bit of a rest, and then rejoin us. So,
okay.
Yeah, in sort of whenever you feel like. So we'll probably be in standing for maybe about 20 minutes, and then you could join us after that if you wanted. So
Okay.
that might be good.
Right.
Or sitting for 10 minutes, whenever you feel. So yes, it's taken us a little bit longer to arrive in standing than I was planning, but that's no bad thing. So in standing, let's just do a little bit of bringing twist and think about what we're going to do. Good. Lovely. Good to see you all moving so beautifully. And what I thought what we would do in standing to start with is just exploring a bit more of this feeling of the length through the front and the back of the body. But let's first of all just settle in standing and have one hand on the belly and one hand on the chest. And how it feels to settle for a couple of breaths. So you could close your eyes if you like, or if you prefer to have your eyes open, it's up to you. And just see if you can settle in standing, feeling your movement of your breath in your body, maybe swaying a little bit. That I always find so helpful, that feeling of being able to drop into my feet as I sway. And from swaying, maybe settle down and just have a couple of breaths in standing and have this awareness that your shoulders are over your hips and your hips are over your heels. Because we're going to think about how that relationship changes a little bit as we change where we're looking. So from here, you could start to, and you could keep one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. You could start to let your weight shift forwards in your footprints and let your gaze come up a bit. And your pelvis comes forwards, yeah? And then you can start to let your weight shift back towards your heels more and look down towards your feet. So just do that quite small movement a few times. So looking up and let your weight come forwards in your feet, let your pelvis come forwards, and looking down and let your weight come back into your heels and your pelvis moves back. Let's try that a couple more times. And then you could try, as you take your gaze up, what's it like to take one arm up? And it might be the other hand remains on your breastbone or possibly on your pelvis so that you feel the pelvis come forwards. And then as you look forwards, I want you to go all the way down into a forward bend. So you feel the weight shift back into your heels, you feel your pelvis move back. And then you can roll up into standing and you can swap your hands over. So the hand that was raised can now be on your belly and the other arm can come up and back. So we're trying to feel the pelvis moves forwards, the weight shifts forwards in the footprints. And then how does it feel to contrast that with going forwards? And the weight shifts back into the heels, the pelvis shifts back. So move in and out of these a few times. You can go a little bit more quickly if you like. You can have one arm, you can have both arms. If your neck doesn't like these so much, you can support your head with your hands. But all the time you want to feel that your pelvis shifts forwards as you take your gaze up and back, and your pelvis shifts back as you go forwards. And just, yes, just sort of don't get too fixed anywhere. It's good to come in and out of these. I will come and have a look at you. Oh, very nice. It's really trying to get that feeling that the whole of our body is taking part in this movement. And it can be helpful when we take both arms up. We have to let the pelvis shift forwards as a counterbalance. And remember, you can bend your knees to help you drop your tailbone and keep the lower back longer. So that can be helpful for some of us. Whenever you want to, whenever you've had enough of those, if you're enjoying them, you can do some more. Whenever you've had enough, from your forward bend, you could also head on into a squat and have a few breaths in your squat. So if your lower back feels it needs that, so Mel, you be careful. You can do that. But if you're quite enjoying this feeling of opening through the front of your body, then by all means do a little bit more. But eventually end up in a forward bend, in a squat if you like. That's nice. Yeah, very nice, Mel. Good. Good. Lovely. Beautiful. And then sinking into your heels, rolling back up into standing. And we're going to do a few different standing balances with this sort of emphasis on opening through the back and the front of the body. So the first one is you're going to shift your weight. So maybe just come back to standing, a little bit of shifting your weight from side to side. Decide which foot you're going to stand on first. So I would like you to shift your weight into your standing foot, come up onto the ball of the other foot. And I'd like you to try and catch this leg. So you're folding your knee towards your chest. It might not get all the way there, but can you hold around the knee or the back of the thigh? And just see how that feels. Let the other arm be heavy and floppy. It's surprisingly difficult, this one, sometimes. Okay. Try the other side. So bring that foot back down. Shift your weight into the foot you were just standing on. What's it like to fold this knee in towards your chest? So it's sort of the opposite, yes. And do use the wall if you need to. Now, this one can be quite challenging if, you know, quads are tight. You can hold here, you can just hold your leg lower down. Is your body still up? That's the thing to check. So I'll just show you side on that I'm trying not to lean forwards or back. Okay, come down, have a little shake out. Now, you've got two choices here. We're going to end up in this position. If this one is okay for you, I'd like you to try to come to here, and then from there, move on into this one, where you're dropping your knee. Okay, so if possible, from here to here, but if it's better for you just to catch your foot here, that's fine. And then we'll come on to here and here. Okay, so you've got these options. So whichever works better for you, we're going to end up in that second position. If it's possible, you could see what it's like to come to here. Then your foot slides down towards your ankle. I'm doing a very poor job of it, so don't worry if you fall. And your hand comes onto your breastbone. That's it. We're just settling in this standing balance, and then your arm could grow up towards the ceiling. So we're in a fairly neutral place here. We're encouraging the bent knee to drop towards the floor. There might be a bit of a stretch through the front of that thigh, but we're trying to keep quite quiet through the front ribs. We're trying to let the tailbone drop. Let's try the other side. Come down, have a little bit of a shake out. And then the same thing on the second side. So first of all, do use a wall if you need to. If you want to try coming to here, first of all, what's it like to fold the knee in towards you? And then can you catch the foot and let the knee drop down towards the ground? So we're opening out in the front of that hip joint. And then the hand can come to the breastbone. We have a few breaths here. If you feel unsteady, then bring your hand to the wall. That's absolutely fine. If you feel steady enough, you could take that arm up towards the ceiling. So I'm very much here just trying to feel that I'm in neutral. The front and back of my body are pretty similar in length. I might feel that I'm opening a little bit through the front of this thigh. But I'm trying to keep my lower back long, my tailbone is dropping. Very nice. Come back down, have a little shake out. Just for a moment, fold down into a forward bend. So in case your lower back did shorten a little bit, even if you weren't intending it to, let yourself roll down into a forward bend. Have a big exhalation, let your head go, let your arms go. And then when you're ready, let the breath come in as you exhale, roll back up into standing. Now we're going to come into a couple of other variations of that balance in a moment, but first of all I want us to do some arm sort of movements for our arms. So this one, where we're doing a big circle with our arm and we're letting our body come along. Yeah. So we're letting the pelvis come along, and we're changing direction quite frequently. So you want to feel this is comfortable. We're letting the pelvis move, we might even let the legs move, so we can do this big circle into the shoulder without feeling that we're wrenching the shoulder. And then we can move on to the other side, and the same thing, these big circles, but we let the pelvis move, we let the whole of the body help us in this big circling movement. So just sort of evening yourself off on this second side. And then we're going to see, how does it feel to swing our arms forwards and back? So Sarah, I know these ones are a bit of a challenge for you. so yeah, so it's taking it's quite nice to take the arms up quite high, and then it's really, where do they swing back behind us? And it, you know, this varies so much for all of us. And then from here, you're going to see, what's it like to clasp your hands behind your back and to lift your hands up, sort of up and back. So up and away from your bottom, but also further back behind you. And just do that a few times. And this may be quite hard, and you may feel your hands don't go very far, so that's fine. Just so we're really widening here in the front of the chest, but we're trying to keep the legs sort of quiet through the ribs. Just a few times, this interlinked fingers, lifting the hands up and back, away from the bottom, and then relaxing in between. And then have a little shake out. So the first balance we're going to do, if you watch me for a moment, is come back to, and if you'd like to come to here, you can, or just come back to this place. So I should be standing on the other side. So come back to this place. And then you're going to see, what's it like to catch the foot with both hands. And then you're trying to move your heel back away from your bottom. You might move back as well. So it's sort of what we were just doing with the arms, but you're also tapping the leg in as well. Don't expect to go particularly a long way in this one, but actually you can feel quite a lot going on. So you're coming back to catching your foot or your ankle, however works for you, or you could be holding your trouser leg. Always remember that's an option. And then once you've caught your foot and you've stabilized yourself, it's about how can you reach the other arm back? Can you catch your foot with both hands? And then what would it be like to then push your foot into your hands away from your bottom? So it might be that the knee moves back a bit, and you're really pulling your arms. So your foot is pulling your hands back. Good. And so Sarah, I remember you quite liked this one. So maybe, yeah, because it is a really good sort of stretch through the shoulders. Oh, quite strong. And then try come down, have a little shake out. You can try it on the other side. So I say it's less of a balance. Obviously you are balancing, but I think a lot of this one, it's about that, really what's going on in the shoulders and this open. And then we take.
Weird, I can do it on one side but not the other.
Oh, one side, not the other.
Oh my God, that's so weird.
Oh, that's so interesting. But yeah, it makes sense that it's the sort of, it makes sense it's the sort of movement that could feel very different.
My right shoulder obviously has got, yeah.
Yes, so there's a lot, you know, it's asking a lot of the shoulders, it's asking a lot of the
this side.
quads.
My left hand can't reach around. Oh wow.
Okay, yeah, so there's all these things going on that can get in the way of that one. Or you think you can look at it and think, oh, that's really easy. Give yourself a good shake out. We're going to do one more balance. Kate, you could join us for this if you like. A good shake out before we do it. And then we're going to do that final. This is where you get to just do what I call free stalk. So from, Kate, we've been working with from here, moving on. And we did this one last week slightly differently. But from here, just moving wherever you want to. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you fall out of it. Just that feeling of, can we take the arm forwards and the leg back? You can let your pelvis roll, so your pelvis doesn't have to face forwards. And yeah, I was just thinking about this. This is just a chance to feel quite free in your movement. You might try coming back to your starting point. Where else could you go to? So this sense of, can we really expand from the center and take up a bit of space? It feels quite important these days in lockdown when we're, yeah. So it should just, whatever you're doing, it should, but make sure it feels comfortable. can try a few times on one side and you can try a few times on the other side. Remember, our starting point is catching the foot or your trouser leg, hand on your breastbone, arm reaches forwards, leg reaches back. Where do we go to? And it's about this feeling of how does it feel, not about, you know, it might also be that, I'm making an exotic shape, and that could be part of the fun of it as well. So I get to feel a bit like a dancer. So, yes, and it's fine again if you fall out. Good, and then have a bit of, very nice, everyone. Have a bit of a shake out. And we're going to come down to the floor now through a forward bend. Well, you've got these, I think I'm always giving these choices now. We're coming down through a squat. So your squat could be from a forward bend, bending the knees forwards into a squat, or your squat could be this one, where you stay more upright, you reach your hands forwards. You may need your block under your heels. Okay. So you could have a few breaths in your squat. It's probably good not to start with the block under your heels because you might feel a bit wobbly. You might want to slide it in there part way. And from your squat, we're going to come and sit down in pose. So we're going to do some movements around the hips, and then we're going to coming a little bit of sitting and breathing. And sitting, I'm very interested in working with the mudras, the hand positions at the moment, because I suppose they're very white. Might be new. So yes, if you want to adjust your device,
Can we sit on something here? Because my legs won't do that.
Yes. Did you want to sit? What did you want to sit on, Kate? A cushion or actually wait, because we're going to. I think we said this last time. Because from here, we're not going to stay in cobbler pose long. We're going to fold. We did this one last week. We're going to come into pinwheel, where one knee comes on top of the other, and we come to sit like this. So it could be, yeah, you could certainly sit on a cushion here if that is more comfortable.
It's just my knees.
Your knee, yeah, your knee is uncomfortable.
Well, they won't go anywhere near cobbler.
I wouldn't worry about where your knees go at all. I would only think about, because from here, we're going to do this now. So let one knee come on top of the other knee, and then slide your top leg back. And I probably wouldn't put anything. If it's uncomfortable, you could put a cushion under your knee. But the reason I'd say not to is because we're actually going to be leaning our weight over towards this leg. And we're going to be doing a bit of some twisting movements here. So you probably want to give yourself this freedom to be able to let your weight shift around without a cushion in the way. So you're going to look at which leg, where the knee is coming out to the side, because you're going to lean onto that arm. And you're going to let your weight lean over onto that side. And then we're going to swing this arm around. And it's like giving yourself a pat on the back. And you're letting everything turn in that direction. So your pelvis will probably move a bit. And your head and your shoulders and your belly. Okay. Some of you may know where this one goes to. You're not sure, you can watch for a moment. So you come here, the next stage would be to stay in this place where your hand's on your shoulder. And then you sink down into that hand and you see, what's it like to let my pelvis come up? So it's a little bit like when we were doing those delightful camel poses. And then you come all the way down again. So let the pelvis come down. So you can swing your arm around, hand onto your shoulder, let your elbow drop. Lean into your arm, and can you let your pelvis come off the floor? And just unwind that again. So come back down, release your arm, And then this time, hand comes onto the shoulder, sink into your arm. And then this time you could take the hand that was on your shoulder up towards the ceiling and let your gaze come up to the ceiling. And then unwind that, come down, bring your hand onto your shoulder, come all the way down. We'll try that 2 more times. So swing your arm round onto your shoulder, let your elbow drop, sink into your supporting arm, let your pelvis lift, and then the arm can come up towards the ceiling, the eyes can come up towards the ceiling. And then unwind that, come back down through those same movements. So one last time on this side, swing your arm round, hand on your shoulder, sink into your arm, let your pelvis lift, let that top arm reach up towards the ceiling, let your gaze come up, and then coming back down. And this time when you come back down, you're going to fold your weight, your body over this leg that comes, knee that's coming out to the side. And have a few breaths here. And just really let yourself settle down. So I was desperately thinking, how can we do pinwheel without me boring everyone to death? And so I thought, oh yes, we've got this pinwheel twist we can do. Because, I do know that we do it quite a lot. So yeah, have as many breaths as you like, just folding down into that place, which can be quite quietening. And then walk your hands in towards you, come back up into sitting in pinwheel. Slide your back leg on top of the leg you just folded over. Open out your legs in cobbler pose just for a moment, yeah? So don't worry about where the knees are. So the best thing probably, Kate, is just to lean back on your hands and then move on to side 2 of pinwheel. So fold the knees on top of each other, slide that left leg back. Just a little bit of settling here. We're going to do exactly the same movements on this side, so it's going to obviously be much easier. Maybe. So leaning, you're going to lean onto the other arm and you're going to start these movements of swinging your arm around, letting your body follow, giving yourself a slap on your back. If we think about this movement we're going into, we end up eventually in a place where the front of our body is really open. And then the final thing we do where we're folding forwards, we're lengthening the back of the body. So the next time you swing your hand onto your shoulder, leave it there, let your elbow drop, lean into your hand and your arm, lift your pelvis, and then come back down, release your arm, swing the arm around, and rock the elbow, lean into your arm, lift your pelvis. Come back down. Each time we repeat this, it just makes it a little bit easier for the body and for the nervous system. So this time, you could take your top arm up, let your gaze come up, feel the front of your body is really open, and then come back down. And we'll do that twice more. So you come all the way out and then swing your arm around, hand onto your shoulder, sink into your arm, let your pelvis lift. Your gaze come up to the ceiling, then come back down. And then one more time, swing your arm around, sink into the other arm, reaching up towards the ceiling. Breath or two there if you like. And then this time when you come back down, hold your body over this knee, going out. And have a few breaths here. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And from there, you might like to come up, walk your hands in, lean back on your hands. Give your legs a little bit of a lengthen out in front of you. And Marie, especially for you, this is what we used to do ages ago. You're going to cross your You're going to cross your ankles. So it's like you're sitting with your legs crossed. But even if you don't like crossed legs, because we're going to do this circling.
Have some sound, Sarah.
Yes, oh, make some funny sound, don't we? We used to do this one all the time. It's just legs, yeah, ankles crossed, legs crossed, circling a bit, one way and then the other. And then we change the cross of our legs. So then you can leave that. You can change the cross of your legs. Might feel even less comfortable on this side. And a little bit of circling again. Circling our body around. And in a moment, we're going to sit, make ourselves comfortable in sitting. So it might well not be like this. You might want to have your back against the wall or against a sofa. You could be kneeling, you could be sitting with your legs long. So we're going to do a little bit of sitting and breathing and working with mudras. I'm not going to say how long we're going to sit for. We're going to sit for maybe about 5 minutes. Might be slightly longer than that. It's not a hugely long length of time. And let's see. I want you to be able to see my hands on my. That's it. I want you to see my hands on my thighs. So I'm gonna mute everyone now. So because we're quieting down a little bit, but I'll probably unmute you before we relax completely. So if you need to speak to me, just wave. Okay, so you're all muted now. So we're going to use, to start with, a very simple movement of the hands to help us connect with our breathing. But let's just, first of all, let's just do a little bit of circling, settling. We're going to have the hands on the thighs and we're going to be moving the hands up and down. So you just need to be able to bring your hands onto your thighs in a certain, in whatever position you've chosen to sit in. So all we're going to do, and it's very, very simple to start with, we're just going to be, as you breathe in, you're going to turn both palms up. And as you exhale, you're going to turn both hands down. And we're just going to do that for several cycles of breath. So you're tuning into your own breath length. As the breath comes in, you turn your palms to face upwards. As the breath leaves you, you turn your palms to face down. And just keep going with that. Palms upwards as the breath comes in. Palms down as the breath leaves you. And give each breath plenty of time and space. So you allow the breath to come in to fill you fully. And then as the breath starts to leave you, you turn your palms down. You let the out breath empty you completely. No feeling of force, just giving it plenty of time and space. And then again, as the breath starts to come in, you turn your palms up. You feel the inhalation expanding within you, widening you. There's maybe a little pause at the end of the out breath, and then at the end of the in breath, and then as the out breath starts to leave you, you turn your palms down again. And carry on with this for a few more cycles of breath. So the feeling of the inhalation traveling deep within you, the feeling of the exhalation leaving you slowly. Let your shoulders stay as soft and relaxed as possible. I'd like you to have 2 more cycles of breath where you're turning your hands up and down with the in and the out breath. And then I'd like you to finish with your palms facing up. Breathing in, palms up, exhaling, turning your palms down on your thighs. Breathing in, turning your palms up. And then one last time, turning your palms down as you exhale. And then finishing with the palms facing up, the backs of your hands resting on your thighs. And we're going to stay in this position. This position is a mudra. It's called Pushpata mudra. It means handfuls of blossoms. So we're imagining that we're holding blossom. There's lots of beautiful spring blossom around at the moment. So you imagine you've got a handful of blossom in each of your hands, and your hands want to be very soft and relaxed so that you don't crush any of the blossom petals. And we'll have a few breaths, just sitting here, letting the shoulders drop, maybe closing the eyes, feeling the soft centers of the palms, and imagining these beautiful handfuls of blossom resting in our hands. And then you can imagine the blossom has gone now. You're going to turn your palms down onto your thighs and just feel the warmth and the weight of your hands resting on your thighs. Letting your shoulders drop, feeling the flow of your breath through your body. And in a moment, we're going to come to lie down. We're going to do a couple of very simple movements in lying, and then we're going to do some relaxation. So it might be before you lie down, it's quite nice to bring these hands that we have our awareness in onto the floor in front of us to touch the ground with our hands. And also you might want to touch your forehead onto the ground. You might need to come onto you, bring your bottom up to do that, and that's fine. So touching the ground with your hands, with your head if you like. I'm just going to unmute you for a moment. So, and then lying down onto your backs. And all we're going to do, you probably don't need to look at me, but I will show you anyway. We're going to do a bit of tilting of our knees. And we're also going to do a bit of this one that we did earlier, where we're rolling across the whole of the back of the body. So just these two that help us to settle down. So come onto your back with your knees bent, with your feet standing on the floor. And the first thing I think is probably to arrive and just, it can be, I always say this, it can be so nice to lie down. Such a pleasure. And once you're settled on your back, then just start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. Very nice. Just keep the movement really easy, just this sort of free, fluid, comfortable, enjoyable movement in the body. And as you're tilting your knees, you could also let your head tilt to the right and to the left if you like. It could be going in the same direction as the knees or the opposite direction. And then you can pause in the center. You can cross your arms over your chest. And you can start now to add the rocking across your upper back into this. So now the elbows, the head and the knees all tilt in the same direction to the right and to the left. Yes, that's it, Mel. Better with your feet a bit wider apart, I think. And of course, if you want to make sure you're balanced, you pause in the middle, you change the cross of your arms. If you feel that you're rolling onto your fingers, you can always trail your fingers out to the sides, away from your body, so you don't roll on top of them if you don't like that. And then from this rolling side to side, we'll eventually think about coming to settle down. You can carry on a bit more rolling, that's absolutely fine. Settle down, and this might be you want a blanket at this point or anything warm on. And we're going to settle quietly. We're going to bring our awareness to our breath in the front of the body, I think. So we'll keep on with that focus of the breathing, but settling yourselves down. So it could be knees bent, it could be legs long. If you've got a sofa and you want to lie with your legs up on the sofa, that's always nice. And again, I will mute us at this point. So settling down when you're ready and bringing your hands to rest on the front of your body, somewhere that it feels, I suppose it feels soothing for you. It feels that it helps you get in touch with the movement of your breath in your body. And so let your body rest, let your hands rest, let everything come to settle. And as we quieten and settle, maybe the movement of the breath becomes a little bit clearer within us. But as we quieten and settle, also sometimes our mind becomes a little bit busier. So if that's the case, just allow the thoughts to come and to go. Don't try to push them away, but also try to avoid getting caught up in them. Just keep coming back to the feeling of your hands resting on the front of your body and that feeling of the ebb and flow of your in and your out breath. Let your body feel as heavy as possible. Can you really give the weight of your head to the floor? The weight of the shoulders and arms. The weight of the pelvis and the legs. So we feel supported by the ground beneath us. And just lie quietly for another minute or so. There's lots of beautiful bird song around at the moment, so it might be you can hear some of that. It might be you're enjoying the light, the warmth of the sun, the air on your skin. Just allowing yourself to enjoy this quiet time of being with your body, your breath, and
everything that's present in your world right now. So in a moment, I'm going to ring my singing bowl. I'm going to ring it 3 times. So just stay there and let the sounds of the bowl come to you. And once it's over, you can then start to move if you like. So take your time, there's no rush.